Monero. It's often touted as a private currency by most explanation videos online, but when you actually look at how it's being used by people who aren't hardcore privacy geeks, the typical answers fall flat. Aside from buying illegal stuff on the dark net, most explanations revolve around donating privately to human rights groups. And while that definitely has its place, most people don't care about ideology. They care about practicality. In the next few minutes, I'm going to explain to you why Monero is not a practical currency yet, but most importantly, I'll show you its real use case right now, why it's one of the best tools for anybody sitting on undeclared coins on the side, whether it be Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, whatever, and how to cash them out quietly without paying taxes. With that out of the way, let's dive in. So why use Monero? Because it's private, dumbass. That's the go-to answer you'll hear online. But let's be real. For many people, privacy just isn't enough. Most cryptos, they're just cheap lottery tickets. People aren't actually using them, they're speculating, they're gambling, they're trying to chase dopamine. Okay, but Monero isn't really speculative. After all, countries are restricting it for trading purposes, it's getting delisted on many exchanges, there's less price volatility than other coins, so if you're trying to chase a quick dopamine fix, Monero isn't your best bet. Other coins like Bitcoin are being used as bank collateral by major institutions, which is why BlackRock and many countries are heavily invested in it. But Monero is literally the opposite. It's getting banned by countries, so there's no real use case there either. Now, Monero advocates, they'll call it private digital cash. But we don't use cash because it's private. We use it because we know very well that this is going to be accepted in any shop, restaurant, in order to buy stuff with it. It's liquid. And if I can't easily convert my XMR into something I actually want, say, buying a property in this beautiful building, is it really like cash? I mean, it could be if the seller accepted Monero directly, but let's be honest, not many people do in this world. And governments can easily ban it, as was the case with the UAE, where businesses and services can't advertise their prices anymore in XMR. You could still accept it under the table, but how does that affect the usability of it? I think very few people are going to travel to that one specific shop across town that advertises their services in XMR when 10 other places will accept cash, Bitcoin, USDT, other cryptos. It's just a question of practicality. The reality is, from our personal experience, that people care far more about convenience than privacy, especially in the business world. They'll only use privacy if what they are trying to accomplish can't be done without it. For example, there are certain websites that can't be accessed on the ClearNet, so they'll use Tor. But there's a reason why people continue using Google with all of its surveillance and flaws, because it's fast, it's practical. If Tor were just as convenient and fast, I guarantee everybody would take the 10 minutes to download, learn how to use it, and only browse through Tor. So if it's hard to cash out and isn't widely accepted, then why bother with Monero at all? Here's a real practical use case for Monero right now. If you want to move your cryptos, whatever they may be, with no source of funds, no receipts, and obfuscate it from government regulation. As simple as that. Monero's biggest strength are its chain hopping capabilities. Let me explain in simple terms. Let's say that over the years you've accumulated $1 million in Bitcoin on your cold wallet. You haven't used any centralized exchanges, you haven't identified yourself with KYC, you did it all peer-to-peer, but you have no paper trail. Now on the surface, you may say, well, the coins aren't tied directly to me, right? Wrong. In comes chain analysis. Companies like Chainalysis and TaxBit have swallowed the entire Bitcoin ledger, and they have trained their systems to detect any taxable event, especially the larger ones. Their goal? To make sure that they can spot the unrealized gains getting cashed out without the tax reports to match it. See, they don't just track one wallet, they track clusters, groups of addresses that transact as if they were owned by the same person. So if you've ever moved your Bitcoin even through your own wallets, congrats, that's considered a cluster. And then they categorize them into two categories. One are the addresses that have gone through centralized exchanges. They're targeted as KYC'd. Basically, you have a corporate anchor. It's very easy to tax you and to trace your transactions. And then the second category are those transactions that have been off-chain, have not gone through a KYC point. They are called unreported. And then they're dropped on a risk score: low, medium, high, or severe. Now let's go back to your Bitcoin example. Say that you got in very, very early. It's now gone up 20x. That's a fat unrealized gain. And the moment that you start moving that crypto, whether it be to cash out or just between your own wallets, you will immediately light up on their map. And they know very well for how much you got it because they can just check the price and they'll tax you on the delta. Try cashing out through a centralized exchange in your own name, enjoy compliance and taxes. If you're going to go and try an OTC dealer in a foreign country without changing residency, well, you better hope that country does not have automatic information sharing because you can get screwed very easily. Now, let me be very clear. I am not saying that they're going to come after you on day one. Just because your wallet is tagged as risky doesn't mean that they'll start sending the dogs after you. I mean, after all, like a mafia boss, they only come knocking when you are profitable. And if you're sitting on large off-chain gains, then you are profitable. That's when they use the real tools. That's when they can come out with OSINT, with dusting attacks or network level probes, poisoned nodes. Monero users know about it very well. And I'm pretty sure that the regular user has not implemented all of the OPSEC to mask their IP, mask their identity from their on-chain activity. But all of this can be mitigated by chain hopping through Monero. As I explained in this video, chain hopping would be like jumping from one crypto highway to another. But in the case of Monero, your car would be driving through an underground tunnel where nobody above ground can see what's going on in it. Why does this matter? Well, imagine your old Bitcoin on-chain transaction history like a messy chalkboard full of these scribbles that link all of your previous transactions. Monero gives you a blank canvas. It basically swaps out that messy chalkboard for a new whiteboard. And then you can start drawing a new story for your coins with flexible accounting. Now, obviously on-chain analysis will see that you bought Monero with your Bitcoin, but nothing after that. What XMR allows you to do is to cheaply and easily create a new slate for your Bitcoin that cuts the ties with the previous wallets. Now here's a quick guide that will make it extremely expensive for anybody who's trying to trace your coins. I'm not going to say foolproof, but unless you're a darknet administrator or Pablo Escobar, you can use it confidently. Step number one, you're going to buy Mullvad's VPN for €5. You can even use XMR. Step number two, you're going to download the Tor browser and log into it with Mullvad's VPN. This whole process should take max 30 minutes. After that, you're going to swap your Bitcoin into XMR through atomic swaps. It's all peer-to-peer, there's no centralized exchange, no KYC. And finally, you're going to start buying back your Bitcoin. But you will not do it all at once in the same amount. You're going to have different amounts, different time intervals, and most importantly, you'll send it to different Bitcoin wallets. And this is extremely important. It's known as peel chaining. Basically, you're blending the transactions into the exchange's other transactions that are going out. And it's very difficult to piece everything together to the original Bitcoin that you had. For example, you would be buying $22,000 worth of Bitcoin with your XMR and then sending it to one address. Then you would buy $35,000 and send it to another. It's extremely important. You want to have different transaction sizes with different amounts. Now, here's where people screw up. 2 caveats. Caveat number 1, you want to make sure that the Bitcoin you receive is not tainted or dirty. Basically that it hasn't gone through some darknet marketplace or through a hack, and that can be easily traced. So you want to use somewhat reputable exchanges, atomic swaps like StealthX or Unstoppable Swap. TradeOgre would be good for buying the Monero with your Bitcoin, but I personally wouldn't trust any Bitcoin that I would receive from them. Caveat number 2, once you've gotten the clean Bitcoin, is you'll have to have a story for it. Especially if you want to cash out through a centralized exchange or a corporate account, you'll need flexible accounting. And you definitely want to have a professional with that. I've made a couple of videos on it. You can check it out there. Alternatively, you can cash out the Monero directly into fiat. P2P exchanges like RedoSwap exist. For larger amounts, I highly recommend an OTC dealer that accepts Monero directly. The problem, though, is you still cannot cash out into your personal bank account because banks and government institutions are still going to ask, where did the money come from? That's why you have to build this business structure with accounting to justify the inflows. Anyway, with that being said, sure, you're going to spend a few clicks and time getting to know Tor, the VPNs, the swap services, as well as PeelChain, but you're buying peace of mind. To bring it all back full circle, practically speaking, it takes very little effort to chain hop through Monero, but it takes a lot of effort to spend it directly afterwards. Sure, for smaller amounts, there's always Trocador or Cake Wallet. For larger amounts, you would need to develop a direct relationship with an OTC dealer and a reputable one, as well as a creative accountant to justify the transactions from a banking perspective. To finish off, in the words of John McAfee before he killed himself, every single crypto has its use case. And by the way, he was an avid Monero supporter, but even McAfee said that each coin has its own utility. You don't marry cryptos. You use them as a tool for when the job calls for it. I made a previous video on DAC8 and CARF and how it may impact you, so you can check it out over there. But that's it for today's presentation. And share this with a friend. You can comment down below to boost the algorithm, but I'll be seeing you next time. And until then, guys, bye-bye.